Okay, I know. The title is a little clickbaity because I haven't experienced every single birth scenario possible, but with the 6 children that I have birthed out, I have experienced almost every single birth scenario possible, so let's go through it. So with baby number 1, I had every intention of having a home birth. I watched the documentaries Pregnant in America and the one that Ricky Lake did, which I can't remember the name of it right now, and I thought, I got this. Like, me in my house in a birth pool, that's all I need. I can do it. And so I hired a midwife and I was dead set on having a home birth. Now, did I do any other research? Did I read any other books? No. I watched 2 documentaries. Like, that's all I needed to know. And, like, how painful can it be? Honestly. Like, how painful can it be? So, you probably already figured out what happened, but I had every intention to do a home birth, right? I woke up with my water breaking on October 4th, I guess, because he was born on the 5th. I think. I'm not even going to try to like say dates or times because my brain is so mushed from motherhood in and of itself that I don't remember those specific details anymore. So I'm not going to pretend that I know. But I woke up to my water breaking, and it was really funny because it was the first night in our brand new house. We had not unpacked any of our bags yet. So my dad likes to joke that we moved in and the first thing I decided to unpack was the baby. And it was true. I woke up to my water breaking, so I ran to the bathroom, and I am yelling at Keith from the bathroom, who is sound asleep, my water broke. And so he like jumps up scared thinking there is something wrong with the plumbing in our brand new house. And I was like, no, it's my water that broke. So I called my midwife and I start laboring. The labor pains, start off really easy. And so I'm thinking, yeah, I mean, he should be born within an hour. This is going to be super easy. Fast forward like over 24 hours, my water has been broken and labor is progressing, but pretty slowly. But at this point, it is getting more painful. And the thing with your water breaking before you start labor is that once you've hit the 24-hour mark, there is an increased chance of getting infection. So I didn't want to get an infection. My midwife didn't want me to get an infection. And at this point, because the pain has intensified, I am like, get this baby out of me. So we go to the hospital. And at this point, I'm like, cut me open, do whatever you need to do. I don't want to feel pain anymore, and I want this baby to be out of me. So we go to the emergency room. They take me back to ask me all the questions about whether or not my grandfather had diabetes and if my aunts and uncles are still alive. And I am contracting every probably 2 or 3 minutes at this point. So I'm having to be like, I don't even remember what my grandmother's name was, And then they took me back to triage, and they would not let my husband back there with me or my mother. And they did an ultrasound. They're like checking how dilated I was, all the things. And I'm terrified at this point because this was way more painful than I thought. And my husband or my mother is not here. I go up to the labor and delivery floor, and at this point, I think I'm dilated to maybe a 7 or something like that. They give me Pitocin, which I really don't understand why they gave me Pitocin when I was clearly like progressing in labor, but they gave me Pitocin, which made my contractions like ridiculous, like absolutely the most painful thing I have felt in my entire life up to this point. And then we have nurses who are coaching me to push when I didn't feel like my body was ready to push, but they're telling me when to push. And so I am pushing with all of my might to get this baby out of me, because the most important thing to me in that moment is get this human being out of myself, no matter what it costs. Like, at all costs, get this baby out. If you know anything about childbirth, you know that if you're pushing with all of your might without stopping, usually it's going to result in some tearing. So I had 3rd-degree tears, I believe, and so I had to be stitched up by a doctor who could care less about all the trauma that I just went to. He just wanted to add to my trauma. And it was not a pleasant experience. Needless to say, after I finally got that baby out of me, I swore up and down I was never having another child again. Y'all know I have 6 children, so that was a lie. But God has a wonderful way of kind of erasing a woman's memory about how painful childbirth is. Because if he didn't do that, if he didn't like put something into our bloodstream that like went up to our brain and kind of fogged the memories, I don't think any of us would have more than 1 children, if I'm being quite honest. So then at child number 2, I get pregnant, and I am so excited. And this time I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have a home birth. I want to have a successful home birth. It is within me that I know that I can do it. I'm going to research some more, and I am going to do it. I believe by faith that I can have a home birth. I know how painful it is, but I survived. I can do it. And so I had the same midwife. I had Abigail at home in the birth pool. And there were some things that went down with her birth that I look back and I'm like, I don't know if my choice in midwife was the best. Like, just some decisions that she made that kind of put Abigail in jeopardy, I feel like. But I did it. I had a home birth, and it was a wonderful experience. I had a home birth turned hospital birth. Then I had a successful home birth. Now enter in baby number 3, sweet Ezekiel. I had every intention of having another home birth. I had hired a midwife already. I had seen her once for a prenatal appointment. I really, really liked her. She seemed like she was going to be a great fit for our family. And then I go to my anatomy scan ultrasound at 20 weeks and discovered he had spina bifida. And so at that point, all paths led to the hospital, to a C-section. And so I had a C-section. I had a scheduled C-section with Ezekiel. That was baby number 3. Baby number 4 is Nehemiah, and I was a little bit worried, honestly, to have a home birth after having a C-section. Although the statistics are not very high, there is a chance of uterine rupture after you have a C-section if you're going to have a natural birth. And so the idea of my uterus rupturing while at home and not in a medical setting scared me, honestly. And so I decided to have a natural birth at the hospital with Nehemiah. Thankfully, I had a wonderful doctor that I was seeing prenatal appointments with who was gung-ho on me delivering naturally and doing all the things. And unfortunately, when I went into labor, she was not on call. So it was an Indian man doctor that I had never seen in my entire life before. And there was a time there where I was told that I would be able to labor in any position that I wanted. I wouldn't be hooked up to cords or anything like that. Well, all of those kind of fell through the wayside, and I ended up being forced to stay in the bed while laboring. And there was a point where Nehemiah looked like he was in distress. They ended up putting a monitor on him while he was still in me. And a C-section was almost planned, honestly, but I had my sister-in-law there who is a birth doula, and she was able to help me get through that. She reminded me that fear is my enemy. I was able to breathe through, and within 15-20 minutes, I was turned around on that bed and pushing that baby out, and she had to run down the hallway to tell the doctors and nurses that this baby's head is out. Y'all need to come back, because they left the room a few minutes before when I told them that I felt like I needed to push, and they were like, oh no, you're not dilated enough yet. Sure enough, Nehemiah was born in the hospital. So if a non-medicated hospital birth was on my checklist, I checked that sucker off. Then we go to baby number 5, who is Jude, who just had his 5th birthday, and he was born at home. And so was number 6, Tabitha. She was also born at home. And those were both amazing experiences with a brand new midwife that I had never had before. And so overall, I have experienced a medicated hospital birth. I've experienced home birth. I've experienced home birth transfer. I've experienced a C-section that was scheduled. I have not experienced a free birth. Now, free birth is where there is no midwife. You just go out into the woods, onto the beach, into your backyard, wherever you want to go, and you just do the whole thing by yourself. And that that honestly terrifies me. Now, I've been through those 6 experiences, and my takeaway, honestly, if I could do them all again and I was in a different location, I would do birth center every single time. And let me explain why that was not an option for me. So I live in Mississippi, and there are no birth centers in the state of Mississippi whatsoever. There are barely any midwives in the state of Mississippi whatsoever. Thankfully, that number is rising, and I love to see that. Because that is amazing. I think midwives are just a gift to women in general, like humanity. Like, thank you, Lord, for creating midwives. We see it back in Exodus. Like, they've been around since time began. And unfortunately, the medical establishment it doesn't do it for birthing moms, honestly. I don't want to be in a place where sick people or dying people are going when I'm giving birth to my baby, for multiple reasons. A birth center, I think, is the perfect, like, mesh molding, I don't know what word I'm looking for, of a home birth and a hospital birth, because you have the atmosphere of a home birth, you have the care team of a home birth, while still having those medical necessity things that could become a necessity. They're not always a necessity, but when you are hemorrhaging or when something goes wrong, you want to have those things accessible. And so I think birthing centers are just absolutely amazing, and I would choose that every single time. My home births were absolutely amazing, but there is always that fear in the back of your mind, like, what if something goes wrong and there's not time to call an ambulance, there's not time to make it to a hospital. But overall, like I can't believe God let me experience birthing out 6 children. It is such a blessing. There is nothing like childbirth. Like there's nothing like it. It is the culmination of every single emotion you could possibly experience. It is so overwhelming, so powerful. And yeah, I wouldn't change anything about my births though. Like, God has been so good to me in the 6 souls that he's given me. So, trigger warning, he's actually given me 7 souls, but as y'all know, and I've stated before, I have also experienced a miscarriage, which I believe is also a birth. Your baby is just not alive at the end, unfortunately. And that was a very, very sobering and scary experience, because I almost died from that. And so after I had Gideon and I had to go to the hospital, have an emergency D&C, have like 4 pints of blood put into me, it really did open my eyes, because at the beginning, like with Elijah and Abigail, I was like so anti-medical establishment, like from watching all these documentaries and like knowing, stuff that can go wrong within the medical community, and like how I just didn't feel like they were doing things right with birthing mothers. But like after I experienced what I did with Gideon, like it really did humble me and made me realize this is here for a reason. And when you need that reason, it is such a blessing. That's what my miscarriage with Gideon really did, was open my eyes to the fact that hospitals are wonderful establishments, and praise the Lord for them. And forgive me, Lord, of my pride of thinking that I didn't need any of that kind of stuff. I think that was also caused by like the trauma that I experienced with Elijah's birth. And I think a lot of women experience trauma from medical establishments during birth, and it can like change our perception of the establishment as a whole. But we just have to remind ourselves that there's a purpose and there's a great plan. And I was so grateful for the hospital when I needed it. So those are my 6 birth stories and what I would choose as a result of experiencing all 6 of those. And if you want to drop your birth stories in the comments, I would love to read them. I absolutely love talking all things birth and birth related. So let me know what all you've experienced and how many children you have. And we'll see y'all next time.